lots happening right now in our region.
Perch patterns have been working really well.
The bite has been good.
Just keep snapping it off the bottom.
The down imaging, the side imaging. There's a lot of different variations and different ways to rig this.
Oh, yeah! Look at this giant.
They are heavy.
Oh, look at that.
On this week's show, we're talking river fishing. This is AnglingBuzz TV. I'm Troy Linder.
And I'm Jeremy Smith.
Now, I know you do a lot of river fishing. You love to river fish. What makes it so appealing?
Well, first of all, the rivers are beautiful places to fish with a lot of different fish species swimming in them, from sturgeon to carp and cats and muskies and white bass, you name it. There's a lot of great fishing opportunities in rivers. And this time of year, we're starting to get to that point where water levels are starting to stabilize, they're getting lower. And that means fish location is very predictable. Whether it's in front of a log jam, a bridge abutment, you can pretty much pinpoint where the fish are going to be this time of year.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So let's take a closer look right now at Old Man River. To casual observers, rivers appear little more than a collection of rain or snowmelt flowing through the landscape. Midwest rivers and streams drain the surrounding terrain, sending an ever-increasing buildup of nutrients downstream to the Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic Ocean, and Hudson Bay. Fish living in rivers, current is a conveyor belt of food. They're fertile environments with potential for incredibly high carrying capacity, often supporting many more fish per acre than most lakes. River levels and current vary dramatically depending on recent weather events, delivering a never-ending cycle of highs and lows, fast and slows to the critters who inhabit them. Fish react and adjust to these roller coaster conditions by moving substantial distances throughout the year to satisfy their seasonal needs for spawning habitat, food, comfort, and safety. Anglers who adjust to these changes are able to follow the fish and catch them consistently throughout the season. Rivers are productive year-round. For many, the majority of the fishing pressure is in spring or fall with runs of walleye or salmon. However, for those in the know, summer is prime time for river fishing. Throughout this period, levels are low and waters are clear. This concentrates both food and game fish. River fish set up and feed on highly identifiable spots like the front face of log jams, wing dams, and rock piles anywhere there is focused current. Interestingly, river fish don't seem to be as adversely affected by cold fronts as do fish that live in lake environments. As far as fishing options, boats, kayaks, and even the bank offer river anglers opportunities for bass, walleye, muskie, trout, sturgeon, catfish, and more in both size and numbers. The key to river fishing is to simply go with the flow. You know, I think about one tournament I had on Detroit River fishing smallmouth bass. It was basically one cast. The fish were up there, made one cast, they either bit or they weren't there.
Yeah, that's the great thing about fishing rivers this time of year is the fish are in very predictable locations. And the one thing that makes really good river anglers is how they read water. This isn't necessarily a game where you need to be masterful with electronics. This is old school. This is using your eyes to read how the water is moving in the river and know where the fish set up. So for example, if you wanted to go soak some bait on the bottom for catfish or carp, something like that, the front face of a log jam where the current is pushing in is a great place to set up. That's where the fish are going to feed. And if you want to cast and get some really visual strikes, smallmouth bass, muskies, they love doing the same thing. It might be a weed bed that pushes up onto a riffle. The fish are going to position in the current. The food is coming to them, and it's just an incredible experience to fish those rivers and get on those hot bites.
Yeah, that is a lot of fun. And right now, we're going to have a short break, and after the break, we have our Highlight Destination feature, as well as the first of our Buzz Bite reports as Angling Buzz continues.
Some lodges are just a cut above. Hawk Lake is one of those. They're the only Orvis-endorsed lodge in all of Ontario, and they're the 4-time finalists for the best Orvis lodge in all of North America. They feature cordon bleu trained chefs and offer some of the best freshwater fishing in the world. You can target trophy walleye, smallmouth bass, pike, and lake trout on any of their 19 private lakes. Whether you fish with traditional gear or love fly fishing, Hawk Lake has you covered.
You have a choice, turf or surf. It's fishing season. Welcome to the outdoors. We're baiting, casting, drifting, and limiting out. The outdoors never felt so good. Catch, release, and keepers. The outdoors never tasted so good. It's fishing season. We are outdoors. Mills Fleet Farm.
Looking for the perfect fishing vacation? Leech Lake, Minnesota. There's over 112,000 acres of water to explore with fantastic walleye, bass, pike, panfish, and trophy muskies. The fishing opportunities are endless. Leech Lake has it all with over 30 resorts, lodges, campgrounds, and hotels line its pristine shores. Plan your trip. It's Minnesota's original up north vacation destination.
Welcome back to AnglingBuzz TV. We're talking river fishing. And what's interesting about rivers is the simple carrying capacity. They can hold giant fish in a really small body of water that you can pretty much flip across.
Well, yeah, there's amazing river opportunities spread across the entire AnglingBuzz region. And rivers do really have tremendous carrying capacity. It can grow very, very large fish. So if you've got a little stream or river running through your backyard, chances are there's some critters in there that can be really, really big.
Yeah, very, very true. And right now, let's look at some of the diverse rivers across the AnglingBuzz region. We're going to start off with a big river in the Dakotas. The Missouri is the longest river in the United States and maintains some fantastic fishing options. You name it, walleye, pike, salmon, catfish, white bass, and crappies. I almost forgot about the best untapped smallmouth bass fishing in the country. This is a big wild river and reservoir system with some unbelievable fishing opportunities if you like to explore. If you've never been there, it's definitely worth the price of admission. Next up, we're going to look at the upper Mississippi River. From Pool 2 in downtown St. Paul, Minnesota, all the way to Grand Rapids, 150 miles north, you'll find catfish galore. Interestingly, most of this water gets little if any catfish pressure. Most anglers in the upper Mississippi tend to target the glory fish, like smallmouth, walleye, and muskie. A lot of these people really don't know what they're missing. Get some cut bait, hooks, barrel swivels, and some no-roll sinkers, and you're ready for action. This is simple anchor fishing. Target log jams and holes, and it won't take long before something's biting. Last but not least, we're heading to the state of Michigan. In the next month, salmon and trout start gathering in and around river mouths in preparation for their fall spawning runs. There's a lot of hot fishing action going on here. The main target species include king salmon, coho salmon, and steelhead. The initial part of the run starts with vertical jigging around the river mouths in the lake and ends with epic river battles. It's an amazing thing to see how many fish come into these rivers. Timing is critical to hit it right. Call Sportfish Michigan to get up-to-date info and to find a guide. Get out and get bit. Yeah, that king salmon and steelhead fishing looks like a lot of fun. I still have yet to do that.
Oh man, that just looks like an incredible opportunity. And there's so many great opportunities that exist in rivers across the Midwest. One of my most memorable angling experiences is going to a small river with my John boat, having to drag across sandbars, throwing big giant bullheads into log jams. And in the middle of the night, we caught flathead catfish that you needed 2 hands to lift into the boat, pull them out of heavy cover. I mean, who would have ever guessed that a fish that's this big, you could stick your head in its mouth, would be living in such a small environment? There are so many cool things that happen in rivers.
Yeah, and that says a lot about the rivers, fish that size in small waters. And right now, well, we're heading over to Nick Linder with the first of our Buzz Bite reports.
For our first report, let's check in with Justin Geike on the Wisconsin River.
Here we are in July. Temperatures have risen both in the air and in the in water, and that's pushing fish into their summer patterns. Muskie fishing continues to be good in low light situations, focusing on isolated structure adjacent to deep water. That could be weed points, or rock bars, outside bends on river channels, all very good. Fishing them with Lake X toads and muskie innovations. Bulldogs, if we're throwing crankbaits, we're throwing a lot of lunge and long 22s, and depth raiders, of course, as always. Smallmouth fishing continues to be awesome here on the Wisconsin River. We're chasing after those with a 3/8 ounce Super K football head with a craw trailer on it. A lot of times too, we're throwing square bill crankbaits. Looking for rock and current, heavy outside beds of river channels continue to be really good. Largemouth have moved out to the weed lines, and trolling for walleyes on our flowages has been phenomenal, throwing our custom color Lady Shoes flicker shads.
Thanks, Justin. Now let's check in with Billy Rosner on Lake Vermilion, where the warm water bite is heating up.
Water temperatures are starting to spike up here, and they're going to continue to do so for the next week or two. We're in the middle of July here. With that being said, a great approach to hooking a muskie. I like to go fish a lot of the reefs and humps, but I'll go light. I'll do like a number 5 or number 6 blue fox or a booker tail inline spinner. I'll go light. I'll use a 7-foot medium heavy St. Croix Premier rod, a 3000 series Daiwa spooled up with a 20-pound Suffix braid. Just make long casts, reel as fast as you can, just burn them over those reefs, and you'll get some really good reaction bites or strikes out of those muskies. That's a lot of fun. Also, in those same areas, you can just slide off of those reefs, get on the edges where the transitions are. You're going to find walleyes in those areas and some really nice smallmouth bass also.
Thanks, Billy. Now don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we have more Buzz Bite reports to come as Angling Buzz continues.
Sportsmen, we're truck people, we're gear people, we're Radco people. Top brands like Lear, Access, WeatherTech, Kurtz, and more. Price match guarantee, exceptional service, professional installation, researched, tested, approved. Radco, when your truck looks good, you look good.
Lake Vermilion. Explore. Relax. Reconnect.
Minnesota's most beautiful lake.
Oh. Get hooked on our trophy walleye.
That's a beauty.
Bass.
My favorite fish.
Musky fish.
That's a beauty there.
Things to do? You'll never get bored.
Rooms with a view? We got 'em.
Lake Vermilion. 4 seasons of fun.
Many things have been said about rough waters, but few things have been said about a smooth ride. The revolutionary Smooth Moves Ultra is a mechanical suspension system that features a 4-spring design and a hydraulic shock, providing the most comfortable and durable ride on the market. Through passion, tenacity, and the right equipment, you can overcome even the roughest waters.
Explore Alexandria, Minnesota. Whether it's a long weekend or a week-long loaded with family fun, you'll find plenty of things to do in Alex. Unleash your inner explorer with over 300 lakes, beaches, parks, hundreds of miles of trails, dining, golf, shopping, museums, and history. Alexandria is Minnesota's hidden gem. Go to explorealex.com to find your vacation this season.
Welcome back to Angling Buzz. Now for our next report, we're going to join Captain Chad Diltz, who's been keeping tabs on the Michigan perch bite.
For those anglers looking to get out and do some inland lake perch fishing, we have a really stable bite going right now. You know, we're 2 weeks after the mayfly hatch. The fish are traveling into that deeper water zone. Some lakes 25 feet, but some of the deeper, larger inland lakes as deep as 35 to 50 feet. You know, standard perch rigs with 1/4 ounce to 1/2 ounce bell sinkers on the bottom, something to get you down in that rough water, hold you right to the bottom. Some anglers like to use, and will have good success with, crawlers, perch minnows, and even some anglers like to use just small chunks of frozen shrimp. For those anglers looking to get out onto Lake Michigan and target some of the bigger fish that are schooling, you know, don't be afraid to get in on the breaks, and if you're not finding what you're looking for, sneak into that 10 to 15 foot zone wherever you have rocks or weeds. A really stable pattern and a good technique to use for those perch is a slip bobber. You can fish just one individual hook with a little bit of weight, try to set it up just above the weed bed or the rock edge, you know, and use the same kind of baits, crawlers, leeches, minnows, and even frozen shrimp. You know, those perch are really gonna be hunkered down into that structure, feeding, and you wanna kind of bring them up out of that structure to see if you can entice a strike.
Thanks, Chad. Now for our next report, we're gonna head over to Leech Lake where Jason Freed has been chasing muskie and walleye.
Leech Lake is in its mid-July patterns now, which means one word, reaction. Whether that's walleyes, whether that's muskies, you want to get a reaction bite. So when you think about reaction bite for walleyes, think about three things: spinners, crankbaits, and jigging wraps. Love to use a number 9 jigging wrap. This perch colored one is one of my favorite on Leech Lake. Whether you vertical jig it, cast it, snap jig it along, it's going to be a great way to cover ground and create a reaction bite out of fish. I like to utilize this along humps and steep breaks or underwater points. As mid-July gets along, that's when the trolling bite's going to happen. You want to get a number 5, number 7 shad wrap along the flats, underwater points, long steep break lines that are found on the main lake to find those suspended fish, as well as on the edges of the reefs, especially in the mornings and the evenings. So like a number 5, number 7 shad wrap or a flicker shad. And if you're out chasing muskies, Leech Lake is famed muskie lake, and so you want to think about bucktails, you want topwaters on some days, but again, those fish are going to move out to the main lake rocks as well as some of your emerging weed beds that have deep water nearby. And so Leech Lake's got a lot of big muskies. Come on up, make a few casts, do a little walleye fishing, and we'll see you on the water.
Next up, we're going to get a Lake of the Woods muskie report from Doug Wegner.
We're playing and dealing with a lot of wind, so we're fishing a lot of rocks, a lot of current. The biggest thing is just moving spots. We're fishing minnow baits, we're fishing rubber, we're fishing bucktails and topwater in the mornings and evenings. And the fish have really been on the key spots, so there's really no point in just fishing along shoreline. They've been on the points, inside turns, and just on the areas where you'd expect them to be. So this is our third fish of the morning, or of the day, I guess. It's 1 o'clock right now. We've been having a really good week up here, a lot of fish. I'll show you guys this one quick. Nice little fatty on a big wind-blown rock point. It's about, I think this is, maybe it's one of the smaller ones of the day, but awesome fish. We're gonna get her back. We've had just an amazing little week here. I think yesterday we had 8 bites. Today we're at 3. We've been getting somewhere between 3 to 8 bites a day. So if you guys are looking to come to Lake of the Woods and have a good time, it's a great time to do it.
Next up, let's check in with Joe Segura in the Alexandria region.
Still been enjoying a great bite around the Alexandria area. Sunfish, crappie, bass, walleye, all been biting very aggressively during the day. The walleyes, on the other hand, if you can get some overcast, some breeze, they'll bite all day as well. But generally the mornings and evenings have been best for us. And 16 to 24 foot of water, right on that outside edge, I'll be looking for those walleyes on the low light times. And I'll pull through there with a leech and a Lindy rig. And I guess what sets me apart from my Lindy rig presentation a little bit is make sure you have lively bait. I know it sounds simple, but those containers of, I see people, you know, those little containers of leeches that you buy at the bait store, they take them out of the cooler and put one on and then fish through. That leech is very lethargic. If you can take a bucket of water from the lake and then set your leeches in there prior to fishing 15-20 minutes, those fish are gonna, or those leeches will acclimate and be much more active down there. So if you can put an active leech versus a lethargic leech in front of a walleye, it's going to be night and day difference and really going to increase your productivity.
Now that wraps up our Buzz Bite reports for this week, but don't go anywhere because when we come back we have cool products and the technique of the week as Angling Buzz continues.
Sportfish Michigan is your #1 source for top charter captains and fishing guides in Michigan. Our network of professionals are full-time anglers with years of experience providing customers with the best possible fishing trip services. Fish for trout, salmon, steelhead on Lake Michigan or its famous tributary rivers, the Traverse City area's world-class smallmouth bass, walleye fishing on the Detroit River and Saginaw Bay, or northern Michigan's spectacular ice fishing. We do it all. Sportfish Michigan. Get out. Get bit.
If you're looking at this, how do you know it's not this? If you see this, how do you know it's not actually this? Trust your AquaView and you'll see the real underwater world. AquaView leads by innovation. First in high definition, first in handheld viewing, the finest underwater optics, the brightest, sharpest screens, the original underwater camera, and the fish finder that puts you on the fish.
According to Minnesota's Department of Natural Resources, in 2017, 97% of boaters surveyed by watercraft inspectors followed Minnesota's clean, drain, dispose laws. Let's keep it this way. Clean aquatic plants and animals from boats, trailers, and equipment. Drain all water from watercraft, including the motor, and keep drain plugs out during transport. Dispose of unused bait properly. Together, we're preventing the spread of aquatic invasive species in Minnesota.
And now it's time for our cool products brought to you by Fleet Farm. We're going to start out with Deep Creep from Seafoam. This is a multi-purpose lubricant and cleaner, a lot of different uses, from your boat to tools inside your garage, to your trailer, to guns. Really awesome Deep Creep from Seafoam. This time of year, bugs are a pain, mosquitoes, black flies. You definitely want a thermocell. It creates a 15 by 15 foot zone that repels those nasty little critters. It's great for camping, hunting in the boat. You just put the butane in there. You got a couple inserts there. Just turn it on, set it next to you. You can wear it very handy from Thermacell. And from Lake Master, these high definition chips are awesome. This is the Lake Master Plus. This one happens to be for Minnesota. They have a lot of different chips available. You have standard definition, high definition. You get great contours, great aerial views. You'll definitely want one of these, a Lake Master Plus chip series for your hummingbird. And for river fishing, top water, well, the Arashi cover pop. This is great for largemouth, smallmouth. You can throw this around laydowns. Nice scooped nose on this. Has a lot of spit to it, so when you're popping it, it has a lot of makes a lot of sound, casts far, easy to use. The Storm cover pop. Also from Storm, this is a nice cast and reel bait, the 360 GT search bait. I like this, has a couple different extra bodies on there. Just cast it out and reel it, 3 different sizes. The Storm 360 GT search bait. And from Rapala, another cast and reel bait, the BX Brat. Has a nice compact design square bill so it can bounce off rocks and deflect off wood really well. Gets down to about 6 feet. Great colors with it, the BX Brat from Rapala. And if you want to get a little bit deeper, well, from Bagley, the balsa shad, these have different sizes as well. Great balsa design, nice slip on this. You control this, cast this, the balsa shad from Bagley. And for fishing around slop, well, the Scum Frog, there's a few different styles available. This is great, just throw it on like either monofilament, 20-pound monofilament, or 30, 40-pound braid. You can pull those big fish, those big bass right out of the cover, lily pads, and Reed's Scum Frog topwater baits. And when you're fishing down in the current for walleye, well, the current cutter jig from Northland Tackle, you put live bait on here, you put soft plastics on here. They are made to be fished in the current cutter jig from Northland Tackle. And over here, a couple different kind of smaller profile, thin profile, soft plastic baits, the Impulse swim bait, as well as the ringworm. Over here, you can fish actually these on a drop shot or on a light little jig head, and they can be worked at slow speeds. They're both great. And to keep your drink cold or warm, depending on if it's morning or night here, if you're starting out in the morning coffee, this will keep your coffee warm for hours. Also keep ice cold throughout the day. The Yeti Rambler, very strong, very durable, high quality, fantastic product for these summer months. And lastly, a fantastic combination here. It's a 7-foot medium action rod from Daiwa. It's paired with the Daiwa Revros reel. This retails right around $69, you believe, for both. This is a two-piece rod, so you can store it easily, and you get the great Daiwa quality at a great value. The Daiwa Revros combo. All these products that are available at your local Fleet Farm store. You can also get them online at fleetfarm.com. And right now it's time for our technique of the week. There we go. Oh, that's a nice one. You know, I fish all over North America. One of the things I love to fish, rivers, whether it's small creeks, big river systems, little river systems. For big smallmouth like this, big largemouth muskies, bass, walleye, everything that swims. And one thing that's extremely important is positioning your bait naturally with the current flow. All river fish face upstream into the current. The current is a conveyor belt of food, and fish position in ways to take advantage of any forage that's moving along in the current. Let me show you what I mean. So what I'm doing here is making quarter casts with the current. I have a shallow rock pile right here. Current's coming this way, quarter cast up like this, and I'm bringing the swim bait back. It's kind of coming like this with the natural flow of the current. The fish are facing into the current, so this is sweeping in front of their face. And this not only goes for rock piles and like this, it goes for log jams, fallen trees, rocky points, sandbars, anything where you have current flowing into it. Quarter casting upstream and sweeping it down with the natural flow of the water. What's really important is the same principle is applicable to any fishing river situation, whether deep or shallow. In the big picture, active fish tend to move to areas where the current flow is focused, like the front face of an island or rock point or a log jam. Inactive fish tend to drop back downstream on any current breaks. A lot of good river fishermen fish from a fixed position. Right now I have the spot lock on, the Minn Kota, but also you can use like a shallow water anchor like a Talon. You can use an anchor, and what that allows you to do is make successive casts, and I kind of call it the sprinkler effect. We're like, sweep here, sweep there, sweep there. You can really comb over an area really well, because that way you don't have to worry about, you know, positioning in the current, repositioning the boat, you know, in between your casts. You can cover the section of water you're fishing extremely effective. Right now I'm throwing a swim bait. With the other baits I have on the deck, I happen to have a top water, a jerk bait, a jig, and the important thing is every single one of these baits is presented in the same manner, upstream to downstream, pulling it into the fish's face.
Yeah, you know, the thing that I really like about river fishing is that it's a visual experience and you're reading the current.
And when you get that current swing right, you trigger the bite.
Absolutely, Troy. Now make sure to check in for next week's show, because we're going to be talking about how angling is changing.
And it has a lot. And we want to remind you, as always, to help stop the spread of aquatic invasive species, anytime you leave any body of water, clean, drain, dry.
Yeah, absolutely, Troy. And don't forget to check us out at AnglingBuzz.com for the latest in fishing information from our region.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Troy Linder.
And I'm Nick Linder. We will see you next week.